العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد, just 2 or 3 questions from the last lesson. We studied Yadul Amana, something called Yadul Amana and Yadul Daman. So brothers, Mubarak, what does Yadul Amana mean?
Yadul Amana is that you...
Shaykh Abdullah, if you can turn it there.
So you've got hold of something.
Yadul Amana, if you've got hold of something.
With the permission of the owner or permission of Shari, and anything to occur to the ain, you are not responsible.
So you've got permission from the owner, no one else, and the Shari, Hassan. And if anything does happen to it, unless
it was through the when it happened to it, you're not responsible.
Unless
it was through your
نعم your تفريط أو تعدي. تعدي يعني فعل ما لا يجب أو فعل ما لا يجوز. تعدي is فعل ما لا يجوز. تعدي is to do that which is not permissible, and تفريط is ترك ما يجب, leaving off that which is واجب. أحسنت. And the reason I asked you is because you wasn't here last week.
You know when you were mentioning the anwa, you mentioned still when before, but as far as I recall the video that you mentioned,
I mentioned what?
No, you said that the types of wayo. You mentioned you mentioned 3, you mentioned 4.
No, I mentioned, okay, طيب, that question can go to the sisters. In terms of bay', we mentioned that in terms of, or bi'tibar, from the angle of the time frame that you're selling and buying and selling, there were 4 types. What were they? When buying and selling, there were 4 types, and a salam was one of them. Hal bihal, that you buy something there and there. Buy a phone and the person takes the cash. Sell a phone and they give you the cash. طيب. بيع مؤجل بمؤجل. A debt for debt. And what is the ruling on the first one? Sorry. Jaiz. What is the ruling on the second one? Muharram. The ruling on the second one is Muharram. طيب. بيع حال بأجل. صورته بيع حال بأجل. Buying something and then paying later. What is the ruling on that one? Jaiz. Buying something now and paying later. And the 4th one? بيع مؤجل بحال. طيب. Which is salam, which is buying something, paying for it now, like in getting the item later on. Those are the 4. طيب. طيب. The next question, what does Yadul Daman mean? Sisters, Yadul Daman. نعم أحسنت. So Yadul Daman is that which, or the item that you get hold of in a way which is not permissible for you, not by the permission of the owner and not by the permission of the Sharia of Allah Jalla wa Ala. So that is not permissible. Should anything happen to that, then it's not permissible, then you're liable for it. Yadul Amana could become Yadul Daman إذا تعدى يعني. نعم. Yadul Amana could become Yadul Ta'adda if Yadul Amana could become Yadul Daman if the person has a shortcoming in looking after it. طيب. What happens with the rahan if the person, or what is rahan first and foremost?
what happens like insurance, or if a person owes you something, that person gives you that thing.
No. An item that you hold as assurance after a person owes you a debt. طيب. What happens if that person pays the full amount? If they pay the full amount, what happens to the rahan? You return it. طيب. What about if they don't return it? What next? You should give them more time. Ahsanta. Where did you get that from? The Shaykh says وَطَلَبَ صَاحِبُ الْحَقِّ بَيْعَ الرَّهْنِ وَطَلَبَ صَاحِبُ الْحَقِّ. So that's only if the صاحب الحق, the person that owes it, that's only if he says give it back to me. وَطَلَبَ صَاحِبُ الْحَقِّ. يعني مفهوم هذا. What do we understand from that? إذا ما يطلب or إذا ما طلب, if he doesn't ask for it, then what? He doesn't have to sell it. طيب. If he asks for it to be sold, or he asks for his right, what happens next? He says, listen, I can't wait any longer, I need my money. Don't go far, just look in the matana. You can sell the item. What if you sell the item and you sell it for more than it's worth? Umar. So whatever is left over goes back. So if he owes you 100,000 and you sell the house that you have as a rahan for 120,000, that 20,000 extra goes back to the owner. What if after selling the house he still owes you money? Yani the debt was 100,000 and the house sold for 80,000. The 20,000, what happens to it? It is an unsecured debt. طيب. What about if he pays you out of that 100,000, he pays you 50, 40,000 or something like that, and you've still got the house? What do you do? مثلا الآن Muhammad has the house. Muhammad owes me 100,000. I have his house as a rahan. He pays 40,000. طيب. He still owes me how much? What happens in this situation? I still hold on to the house until he pays the full amount. طيب. وإذا أتلف رهن. طيب. So we stopped at وَنَمَاؤُهُ تبع له ومؤنته على ربه وليس لراهن الانتفاع به إلا بإذن الآخر أو بإذن الشارع. طيب. And the next masala that we stopped off was that وَنَمَاؤُهُ, and whatever comes from the actual rahan itself, تبع له, it follows the rahan itself. ومؤنته, and its provision or providing for it, على ربه, is upon the one that owns it. Suratul Mas'ala. مثلا I say to him, مثلا Abdullah owes me £10,000, طيب, or anything else for that matter, and he says, I'm going to leave my she camel with you. This camel, I'm going to leave her with you. And the she camel is expecting, she's going to give birth soon. طيب. So the she camel itself, who is responsible for looking after her? Responsible for taking her out to graze and taking for whatever it's going to drink and so on. Who's responsible for it? Naam, the owner, the one he's been left with. طيب, is that? لا, Abdullah is the owner of the she camel. It's been left with me. I'm holding it as a rahan. I'm responsible for it. Who agrees? Put your hand up if you feel I'm responsible for it. Who's responsible for it? The person that has it as a rahan. Does anyone disagree with? The initial owner, نعم. وَمُؤْنَتُهُ عَلَى رَبِّهِ. وَمُؤْنَتُهُ is provision and providing for. عَلَى رَبِّهِ is upon its owner, the Rabb. Rabbul Bayt or Rabbul Sayyar, Rabbu Kada is the one that owns it. So it's upon Abdullah. why should I have to pay for it? I'm only holding it as documentation for establishing my rights, so that should he not pay me, I'm going to sell the item or wherever it is that I've got as a rahan and sell it on. It's nothing to do with me who provides for it and who's in charge of what it eats and so on. So it's Abdullah. Great. Like, what does it mean when وَنَمَاؤُهُ? وَنَمَاؤُهُ means, we said it is expecting, right? Right. So it gives birth. It gives birth. The child or the whatever it gives birth to, the small naqa or the small camel, who's in charge? Who does it get left with me as the person that's holding on to the rahan, or does it go back to Abdullah, the owner of the rahan?
Follow the normal of the camel. So Abdullah will be in charge of that.
I'm in charge of it. I'm looking after it.
Who's in charge? Well, it's left with you.
It's left with me, so I'm in charge of it. Then in reality, he owns it. I'm in charge of it. So who does it get left with? The mubtaha. وَنَمَاؤُهُ تَبَعٌ لَهُ. تَبَعٌ لَهُ meaning it follows the person. It follows the person. The person that it follows the original rahan. So the camel is a rahan for me, صح? So is whatever it gives birth to. That's what the Shaykh says, rahimahullah. وَمُؤْنَتُهُ عَلَى رَبِّهِ وَلَيْسَ لِلرَّاهِنِ. This is the next mas'ala. So maybe put a star on top of it or something like that, just to dissect the matan. Some of the mutun are numbered. Some of the brothers, like I think Hamza's nuskha, every mas'ala has got a different number. So that makes it easier to understand the matan. Like with my one and most mutun, they don't have that number in. But it's important to be able to differentiate between different masail. So where the Shaykh says وَلَيْسَ لِرَاهِنِ, this is the next mas'ala. وَلَيْسَ لِرَاهِنِ الْإِنْتِفَاعُ بِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ الْآخَرِ أو بِإِذْنِ الشَّارِعِ. وَلَيْسَ لِرَاهِنِ. So it's not for the person that owns the item. Abdullah in this situation, I'm only holding on to it. It's Abdullah's property. He's the rahin, sah? So Abdullah can't take advantage of it or use it unless he has my permission or the permission of the Shari'. So mathalan, Abdullah left the car with me because he owes me 100,000. He can't now come and take the car. Even if he's got a spare key to the car, he can't come and take the car. Right? Like if he comes to me, he can't come to me and say, listen, it's my car anyway, you're only holding it for rahan, give it to me, or let me just use it for today, I'm going to use it. I don't have to give it to him. Lakin, if I give him permission, if I say yes, take it, you can use it, then it's fine. Then it is fine. في قوله نعم وليس لراهن الانتفاع إلا بإذنه. طيب, what about myself? What about me? Taking advantage of Abdullah's car that I have as rahan. Is it permissible or not? Huh? If it's not going to decrease the value, طيب. You said if it's permission, طيب, okay. No one's got anything to add to that? If it doesn't decrease the value. طيب, let's see what the Shaykh says. بإذن الشارع في قوله الرهن يركب بنفقته إذا كان مرهونا ولبن الضر يشرب بنفقته إذا كان مرهونا وعلى الذي يركب ويشرب النفقة. طيب, so this hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains that the rahan yurkabu binafaqatihi. It is to be ridden and used at expense though, binafaqatihi, once providing for it. إذا كان مرهونا, if it is marhunan, if it is left with someone else to look after. وَلَبَنُ ضَرِّ, and the milk of it, its milk, يُشْرَبُ بِنَفَقَتِهِ. It is also, you drink it as well, بِنَفَقَتِهِ, providing that you provide for it. إذا كان مرهونا, if it is marhunan, يعني if it is being held by someone else. وَعَلَى الَّذِي يَرْكَبُ, and the one that is riding it or taking advantage of it, وَيَشْرَبُ, and that is drinking it, النَّفَقَ, upon him is nafaqa. طيب. So this hadith, the scholars, they differ over whether the person that is holding on to the item, which is me, whether I can take advantage of it or not, whether I can use it or not. With regards to the item, itself, if it is something that requires nafaqah, requires looking after, then I can't use it unless the person gives me permission. So for example, the sayyara, the car that I have, the car doesn't need regular, I don't need to look after it, I don't need to feed it, I don't need to put service or anything like that. As long as it gets left there, then the car is fine. Like also a mobile phone, if a person leaves a mobile phone as a rahan, I can leave it there and I don't need to do anything to it. So that obviously I can't use unless I've got permission from Abdullah, the owner. However, what about if it is like a horse that I have, or a camel, or a sheep that I am holding as a rahan? Now that sheep is not just going to stay there, right? It needs someone to look after it. And we said the nafaqah provided for it, who's the one that provides for its eat, whatever it is, the grass and so on that it's eating? The original owner. What about if I'm taking advantage of it? Am I allowed to ride it at the expense of me providing for it? And am I able to drink it with the expense of me, at the expense of me taking advantage of its milk and drinking its milk? Huh? As long as I take care of it. As long as I suffice the nafaqah, it's okay for me to use it. Taib. Sisters? Huh? With the permission of the owner? Yeah, with the permission of the owner. What if he doesn't give you permission? No? Taib, this is a mas'ala that the scholars differ over. Like they say, the jumhur, the majority of scholars say, no, I can't take advantage of it. I can't use it in any way unless, I can't use it in any way. Why? Because it's the money, it's the wealth of someone else. وَلَا تَأْكُلَ أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ Allah prohibits us to take from eating or using each other's wealth without permission. So I'm not allowed to use it. Lakin the Hanabila, they distinguish from that, or they separate from that anything that is mahlub or maghkub, anything that you milk or anything that you ride, based on the hadith. And the reason why this is exempted is because of the hadith. The Messenger ﷺ said that, or the meaning of the hadith is that the person that is holding on to it as rahan, he can ride it as long as he pays for he provides for it and he gives it nafaqah. And the same thing for the milking. You can milk it as long as you pay for it as nafaqah. طيب. The next mas'ala, or the next thing is ad-daman. So the first one, or the first way of documenting your right and holding on to your right, is a-rahan. The second is ad-daman. And ad-daman is أن يضمن الحق عن الذي عليه. Ad-daman is that the person guarantees the right of another person on his behalf. So for example, Abdullah owes someone else £100,000. Abdullah owes someone else £100,000, and I come around and I say, listen, leave him alone. I'm gonna be his guarantor. So if he doesn't pay it within 6 months or whatever limited time that you give him, then I am the damin. Then it's up to me. I'm gonna pay for it. Or Abdullah may want to buy an item. He may want to buy a car, for example, and the car's worth 100,000. Like, this person doesn't know him. And the person says, and I say, I do shafa'ah for him, intercede for him. I say, listen, I know him, inshallah, he's a good brother. He's going to pay the 100,000. I am the damin. But what does this mean for me? Obviously, he has to pay whatever he owes anyway. Like in me as the damin, where does this masala come into it? It comes into it in the sense that Abdullah owes this person 100,000. I have now interceded for Abdullah. I am the guarantor. I am the damin. If Abdullah refuses to pay the money, I have to pay the money. Is that understood? In summary, if Abdullah refuses to pay the money, I have to pay the money. If Abdullah, may Allah preserve him, passes away, then what? Who pays the money? Me. I pay the money. What if I pass away and he doesn't pay the money? Yeah, he doesn't pay the money. Those that inherit me, they take that day on. They take that day on, and it's taken out from whatever inheritance I leave behind. That's daman.
No, they thought the original one.
Both. and then whichever way they can get the haqq, they get the haqq. Obviously the original person, he's alive. So he's refusing to take it anyway. Obviously the person can take him to court and imprison him and so on. طيب. نعم, and obviously is مشروع, or ضمان is مشروع. From the evidences they use وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلُ بَعِيرٍ وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٍ in Surah Yusuf. So وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٍ يعني I am bound by it. They use that as evidence. طيب, لكن in our Sharia there's another hadith in which the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was brought a janazah, and this person, he owed a debt. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sallu ala sahibikum, pray on your friend." Meaning the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't going to pray upon him. Lakin Abu Qatada, the Sahabi radiyallahu anhu, he said to him, "Salli alayhi ya Rasulullah wa alayya daynuhu fa salla alayhi." So the Messenger, so Abu Qatada said to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Oh Rasulullah, pray on him, and inshallah I'll pay his dayn." So he was a damin. Also, it's not a condition that the person that is the damin, that he knows who he's been a madmoon for. So it's not wajib that I know who Abdullah is, because Abu Qatada may not have known this individual. Now, so there's a mas'ala, or وأجمع أهل العلم في الجملة, في الجملة, just as a side benefit, وأجمع أهل العلم في الجملة, أهل العلم, they have ijma' in it, في الجملة, in jumla, or بالجملة. Does anyone know the difference? I think I've mentioned it before. أجمع أهل العلم على كذا. أهل العلم have إجماع on this في الجملة and بالجملة. Does anyone know the difference? في الجملة and بالجملة. Huh? بالجملة, both there's consensus.
Is it one to do with the ulama and some
لا.
to do with the...
لا, في الجملة, they say there's ijma' fil jumla, meaning they agree on the general principle. They may have differences on a few different masail. لكن if you ever come across أجمع العلماء على هذه المسألة بالجملة, then it means بالجملة in every single situation and in every single mas'ala there's ijma'. In every single mas'ala there's ijma'. So بالجملة and fil jumla. طيب, then the Shaykh says والكفالة. الكفالة is أن يلتزم بإحضار بدن الخصم قال الزعيم غارم فكل منهما ضامن. طيب, the next masala is الكفالة. الكفالة can mean when you sponsor someone, or you put yourself as a sponsor for someone or a representative for someone. And it means what? أن يلتزم, that you make it binding upon yourself بإحضار بدن الخصم, to bring the person to court, or to bring the person to the place of where he's meant to pay the debt. Surah al-Mas'ala, okay, Surah al-Mas'ala, and you all know what Surah al-Mas'ala is by now. مثلا الآن, I come to the suq, I come to the market, or I come to know of Abdullah being in prison. So Abdullah has been taken to prison. طيب, and it is because he owes a person 100,000, or he owes a person 200. He owes a person a certain amount of money. So Abdullah owes Muhammad a certain amount of money. Then I go to Muhammad and I say to Muhammad, inshallah, when the court case is near, I'm gonna bring him. Or when he's due to pay your 100th, whatever amount he owes you, I'm gonna bring him. Physically, I'm gonna make sure that he attends, but allow him to go now. Let him go now. Let him go to his family, and let him go to work, or whatever it may be. So allow him to leave. Lakin inshallah, I promise you that I will bring him tomorrow, the day after, or whenever he needs to be brought in front of court or in front of you. And that is kafala. So بإحضار بدن الخصم, you're actually responsible for bringing the person. The damin was what? Responsible for paying on his behalf. Lakin here, all I'm responsible for is bringing Abdullah to the court, or wherever he's meant to be, paying the amount that he owes to another person. I'm not going to pay anything. Why? Because I may not know that Abdullah owes him anything. It's going to court, he can win the case, he may lose the case. I am only responsible for bringing him. Is understood? That is kafala. And the evidence the Shaykh says, الزعيم غارم. The guarantor is liable. The person that becomes a damin or becomes a kafil for someone, he is a damin. He is liable for paying whatever the original person owed. طيب. فكل منهما ضامن. Every one of them is a damin. إلا. So now he's going to exclude a few situations. إلا إن قام بما التزم به. بما التزم به. So I am now the kafil for who? For Abdullah. طيب. Lakin a week later, Abdullah pays whatever he's meant to pay. What happens to me as the kafil? Huh? خلاص, I'm not responsible for him anymore because now he's paid what he was meant to pay. أو أبرأه صاحب الحق. Or the person that owes, or the person that he owes the debt to, he absolves the aqd. He says خلي, let's or he says you don't have to pay me anymore. أو برئ الأصيل. Or the asil, the first person, the original person, Abdullah, in this situation, he is freed from any responsibility. So in summary, if Abdullah is freed from responsibility, then I also I'm free of any responsibility. طيب. What about if Abdullah passes away? حفظه. What happens to the kafil here? I'm responsible? That's the damin. طيب. What happens if he passes away? What happens to me as the kafil?
You're not responsible. You can't. You're responsible for his physicality.
نعم. I'm responsible for actually bringing him. Therefore, I can't bring him. So, خلاص, I'm free from any obligation. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to bring anyone. And obviously, it won't go over to the inheritance. طيب. Next mas'ala or next bab.